The Nazgul were some of the most important characters in The Lord of the Rings, but who were they before they fell to Sauron's corruption? The Nazgul, or Ringwraiths in the common speech, were some of the most memorable antagonists in The Lord of the Rings, as explained in both J.R.R. Tolkien's novel and Peter Jackson's film adaptations. Sauron gave 9 magical rings to the race of men. These rings of power corrupted their wearers, thus bending them to Sauron's will and transforming them into invisible, undead monsters. Despite their importance in the story, neither the novel nor the films offered much information about who the Nazgul used to be. In Jackson's The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, Aragorn said that the Nazgul were kings of men before Sauron's rings corrupted them.
They were once men, great kings of men. Then Sauron the Deceiver gave to them 9 rings of power.
However, this was not the case in the novel. They must have been somewhat important figures for Sauron to notice them and deem them worthy minions, but Tolkien never specified that they were kings. In the section of the Rings of Power and the Third Age from the Silmarillion, Tolkien explained that some of the future Nazgul became kings after receiving their rings of power, but not all of them. Those who used the 9 rings became mighty in their day, kings, sorcerers, and warriors of old. So who were these mighty characters? The leader of the Nazgul did not have a name, but he did have a title, the Witch King of Angmar. The Witch King was a powerful sorcerer who founded the kingdom of Angmar in northern Middle-earth. Using the power of Sauron's ring, he amassed an evil army and laid waste to Arna, the land from which Gondor had splintered over a millennium prior. An alliance of Gondorians and elves eventually managed to turn the tide of battle and defeat Angmar, but the Witch King retreated to fight another day. It was then that the elf Glorfindel prophesied no man would kill the Witch King. During the events of The Lord of the Rings, the Witch King was one of Sauron's most powerful and loyal servants. He stabbed Frodo with a Morgul blade at Weathertop, nearly transforming him into a wraith, and he killed King Thodin at the Battle of Pelennor Fields. At that same battle, Owen fulfilled Glorfindel's prophecy and defeated the Witch King once and for all. The only Nazgul to whom Tolkien gave a real name was Khamul. Unlike the Witch King, his name and backstory did not appear in The Lord of the Rings. Rather, readers learned about Khamul thanks to unfinished tales, the lost lore of Middle-earth. Khamul was one of the Easterlings, a civilization from the land of Rhûn. Most of the Easterlings allied with Sauron during the War of the Ring, notably participating in the Battle of Pelennor Fields. Khamul was the second in command of the Nazgul, and it was he who led the search for Frodo in the Shire. Unlike the Witch King, Tolkien never explicitly detailed Khamul's death, but like all the other Nazgul, he must have met his end fighting at the Battle of the Black Gate or burning in the eruption of Mount Doom after the One Ring's destruction. Tolkien provided scant details about the other 7 Nazgul in The Lord of the Rings. In the chapter The Battle of Pelennor Fields from The Return of the King, Tolkien briefly mentioned Gothmog, the lieutenant of Morgul. Jackson's films depicted Gothmog as an orc, but in the novel, his race was never stated. This, combined with his high position of power and seemingly non-Orcish name, led some Tolkien fans to speculate that he was one of the Nazgul, but this was only a theory. Tolkien disclosed one more clue about the other Nazgul in one of his letters. He stated that 3 Nazgul, including the Witch King, were Númenóreans. Númenóreans were the ancient ancestors of Dúnedain like Aragorn, many of whom fell to Sauron's corruption. Between the 3 Númenórean Nazgul and 1 Easterling Nazgul, that left 5 of unknown origins. There were several civilizations of men that existed at this point in Middle-earth's history, including the Drúdain, Northmen, and Haradrim. Of these, the Haradrim were the most probable candidates to become Nazgul, as like the Easterlings, they allied with Sauron during the War of the Ring. Tolkien often employed symmetry in his writing, such as dividing Thorin's company of dwarves into groups with rhyming names. It would therefore make sense if the Nazgul consisted of 3 Númenóreans, 3 Easterlings, and 3 Haradrim. This setup would also be tactically advantageous for Sauron. It would give him an even number of Nazgul from the north, east, and south of Middle-earth to assault his enemies in the west from all directions. Many adaptations of Tolkien's work have filled out the ranks of the Nazgul, giving names, titles, and backstories to the other 7. For example, the tabletop role-playing game Middle-earth Role-Playing listed them as Dendra Dwar, Giendur, Akorahil, Hormorath, Adinafil, Ren and Uvatha Hf. This game also gave the Witch King a name, Muraza. Jackson's film trilogies did not flesh out the Nazgul to such an extent. However, in The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies, the Nazgul all had unique weapons and armor that implied different cultural backgrounds. Some of them wore helmets resembling those of the Easterlings and Haradrim from Jackson's earlier The Lord of the Rings. The Return of the King, the Middle-earth story that placed the most emphasis on Nazgul, was the 2017 video game Middle-earth: Shadow of War. The crux of this game's plot revolved around a ranger named Talion hunting down the Nazgul and struggling with his transformation into a wraith. The game introduced 3 new Nazgul, a Haradrim king named Suladan, and 2 Easterling princesses named Rhea and Yuka. More controversially among Tolkien fans, it also reimagined 2 existing The Lord of the Rings characters as Nazgul. The first was Isildur, the king of Gondor who defeated Sauron at the War of the Last Alliance and claimed the One Ring. According to the game, Sauron resurrected him after his canonical death and forced him into servitude. The second was Helm Hammerhand, the mighty king of Rohan who gave Helm's Deep its name. In the game, Sauron saves him from the battle that sealed his fate in the novel, and he transforms into a bloodthirsty berserker. These different takes on the Nazgul showed that fans have always hungered for more information about them, a testament to Tolkien's deep and complex world building. I hope you liked this video. Please like and subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to click on the bell icon to get new video updates.